You're listening to the SmackDown RunDown on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of the SmackDown RunDown. Yes, it is I, the host of the show, the one and only Nikolai. And I am unfortunately not joined by King J because he has other business to attend to. But fortunately, I am not alone because I am joined once again by our special co-host who helped me out the last time and is back again this week. Please give it up for the co-host of the Raw Reaction, Chris Judd.
Good evening, Nikolai. How are you doing today?
I am doing well this weekend. How about yourself?
Oh, doing great. All set to rant and rave and oh my god about this whole SmackDown thing.
We talked briefly pre-show and this actually leads into my first question. How did you feel about SmackDown this week?
I want that 2 hours of my life back. This was it was like half of it was Raw all over again, and Raw sucked this week, and then the other half was split evenly between Food Fight and What the Hell.
Yeah, it was definitely on another level. It wasn't as great as it has been past couple of weeks, months. SmackDown has definitely been on a landslide, and just to put it blunt and to be clichéic, it really has been a roller coaster ride. It's had ups and downs. It's had great weeks. It's had little bad shows here and there. And this one feels like you're going up. You know, it's the boring part of a roller coaster. This was SmackDown. There was really no excitement going on except for a few spots here and there. But I don't know. It wasn't really... It didn't really click. It only had a little bit of forward motion to it, and I'll get to that and what I mean in a minute. But I don't know. Like I was also not impressed with this episode. There were some peak moments that actually I was excited for, but just to start this whole topic and conversation, we might as well start at the top of the show where it immediately started out with Miz TV. And when you see a talk show on the TV show, you know that there's going to be some sort of chaos going on, or something's going to happen where a whole bunch of people are going to come out and we're going to get a match that comes out of it. This is exactly the same setup that we got. Cut and paste. Miz came out and just ran his mouth about nothing that nobody really cares about until he finally brought out Sheamus and brought up the fact that he lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Big Show. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not watched Hell in a Cell, if you have not watched Monday Night Raw, or listened to the wonderful Raw Reaction post-show, then you missed out on a lot because Sheamus, who has been World Heavyweight Champion since WrestleMania earlier this year at the beginning of April, lost the championship to Big Show. Now, what did you feel? How did you feel about, first of all, Big Show becoming the new champion, ending Sheamus's long reign?
Well, I'm really disappointed by it, mostly because with the Big Show winning, that means they're going to put a microphone in his hand more, and the man does not need a microphone in his hand. You know, he's one of these guys, you know, he's big and he's strong and he's tough, and he just needs to shut the hell up and wrestle. But you know, he's been doing this, you know, emo heel thing, and where he just, you know, comes out and whines about, you know, oh, I'm not getting any respect, and oh, Sheamus is being mean to me, and oh, the crowd is booing me, and wah, wah, wah. And, you know, him getting the belt and getting the title just means that we're going to get more of him on a microphone, which we just don't fucking need.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy Big Show won the title, and this title reign lasted a lot longer than his previous one. I agree with you. It's the whole microphone thing. The mic work, he just comes off so boring. When he was a babyface, he always got so sentimental and cried. And I know that's how he really is in real life. And he said his heel character is him on a bad day. But he doesn't need to be on the microphone. When you're a giant, you just need to be dominant. And yeah, he has this whole new thing where he's wearing a hoodie and has the hood on his head looking emo and getting all upset and emotional. Yeah, it needs to stop. And shout out to the chat room, angrymarks.com/chat. We got comments in there that, Big Show he needs to retire or didn't, they don't agree with Big Show being the champion. I myself liked him as the champion. I just wasn't expecting him to win the first time they face off with each other.
I don't have a problem with Show winning. I don't have a problem with him being the champion. I think it's great that he's getting a legit championship run, but his character sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, big guy being emotional and sentimental, I'm all for that. In real life, outside of kayfabe, I love, big, burly, strong guys with the marshmallow center. I really, really like that. But the way the WWE is portraying him, it's like he's a 13-year-old girl whose hormones are going insane, trapped inside this huge body. And that doesn't work as a character for me.
Well, Miz and Sheamus went at it during the whole segment, blah, 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 back and forth. And I don't know, I really stopped paying attention after a while because nothing was coming across. And then Miz started talking about Kofi Kingston. That brought out, of course, the Intercontinental Champion. Says, how many times do I have to kick you in the head before I knock some sense into you? I laughed. Moving on. And more blah blah about Survivor Series. We did learn throughout this whole thing that Sheamus gets his rematch for the world title at Survivor Series. So there you have it. They get their rematch while Miz and Kofi Kingston are involved in a traditional Survivor Series match, which I'm happy to see the first match announced for the show. And all this talk about Survivor Series, all this talk about former champions, and out comes the new champion, the Big Show, and more boring blah 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 talk. Sheamus challenged the Big Show to a fight, and of course, Big Show denies and walks away. Moving on. This was really a boring segment that lasted way longer than it needed to be. There was no chaos, there was no scuffle, no furniture got thrown around. It was just a boring segment of Miz TV.
Yeah, and that's really disappointing because the Miz on the mic is normally decent. Sheamus on the mic is normally pretty good. Kofi can work a mic. Show, we've already established he can't. But apparently you give all four of them mics, and it's like they've all been given Valium.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, there was no energy in this whole promo, this whole segment. That's the problem. There was no charisma exuding out of anybody, and that's why it just felt like everybody was on a dozen somas.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that really happened was Sheamus is getting his rematch at Survivor Series, and Miz tried a really lame sneak attack on Kofi that was completely ineffective.
Yeah, and it wasn't even an attack with punches and, reversals here and there. No, it was just Kofi sidestepping Miz and tossing him over the ropes.
Exactly. It was just entirely pointless.
So, after the commercial break, Big Show was just casually walking backstage until Booker T shows up and tells him that they're going to be in a tag match, as if we didn't already figure this out, thanks to the Teddy Long match chart. You got 4 guys having a promo, boom, tag team match. There you go.
Exactly.
Here's where the exciting part of SmackDown came into play. We had our first match of Sin Cara versus Darren Young in a one-on-one match. Of course, their respective tag team partners were on the outside. Surprisingly, Darren Young picked up the win over Sin Cara. In my view, I call this an upset.
I don't know that I would call it an upset. I would call it a surprise. I didn't expect that at all.
No, I wasn't expecting it either. He caught him with his finisher, the gut check, which is a double knee gut buster. And I love that this feud between these two teams have continued, and we have this resurgence of the tag team division really coming into play, and it's clear that both of these guys, Ray and Sin Cara, same as primetime players, their goal are to be tag team champions. And rewind a couple of days before this, at WWE Main Event on Wednesday, Ray and Sin Cara even made that statement that they are a team and they want to be the next tag team champions, which is what the primetime players have been boasting about this whole time as well. And after this singles match back on SmackDown, Titus O'Neil challenged Rey Mysterio to a one-on-one match, and this time Ray got the win. So it's a little back and forth. One member from each team picked up the victory. They even had a match at Hell in a Cell, which was really good. I like this whole tag team division because it's more than 5 teams, and they actually want to be champions. And I don't care how much of a storyline, I don't care how much kayfabe it is, I just like to see competitors wanting to compete to be a champion. That's always what I've been screaming about, and now we're finally getting it. And even if it's just a tag team division that shows it, it's somewhere, and it's out in the open, and I love to see this.
I'll agree with you there. I enjoy seeing the competitiveness. I enjoy seeing, something being done with the tag team division. My big problem with this whole Sin Cara versus Darren and Ray versus Titus thing was in the middle when Titus gets on the microphone. And, I'm sitting there going, okay, you just need to not talk anymore, ever. Because what he said was, just when you country bumpkins thought Halloween was over, my boy D. Young busted wide open that little piñata right there in the ring. And all my brain is going is, gosh, racist much?
Yeah. Titus O'Neil, it really does... He stumbles a lot in his promos, too. But it's sad that he's better at his promos than D. Young is right now.
Well, that's not saying a whole lot. I mean, that's like saying, hey, the San Diego Chargers are better than the Cleveland Browns. They both suck. You can't really put levels of, oh, well, they suck less than this other guy. It all still sucks.
This is true. I can't argue with that. And the thing that I really despise about Titus O'Neil right now, and no, it's not the barking, and I've clearly had my problems with that in the past, it's his whistle is really unnecessary. So, moving on from there, I do like the fact that after Rey Mysterio got the 3 count, Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara mocked the primetime players doing their millions of dollars dance. I got a pop out of that.
Yeah, I think that was the best part of this whole segment.
But the fact that these two teams are feuding, awesome. Tag team division is well alive right now. And for the past couple of days, I've been playing WWE 13 video game, and it just reminds me of all the tag teams they had back then and how they all feuded and how it was one of the main focuses of WWF at the time. It really had a lot of storylines to it, and that's kind of what it's reminding me of right now. So that's one thing I do appreciate about the tag team division now. So after that, here's where it got a little boring again. We get more updates from Monday Night Raw, where it's Team Foley, Team Punk, the AJ scandal, blah blah blah, Vicky Guerrero, and this is where it went downhill.
Yeah, I mean,
I bet this is where you had a problem with it too, right?
I mean, this shit sucked when they did it the first time, and I ranted about that on the Raw Reaction Monday night. It was just a whole bunch of bullshit when they did it the first time, and now they're subjecting us all to it again because this is what the WWE thinks of the WWE universe. We are such morons and have such little brain capacity that we can't remember all the bullshit that happened 4 days ago. So they have to shove it all down our throats again.
Yeah, and it just seems like they put Raw storylines on a higher regard, that whenever you're watching SmackDown and Main Event and Superstars or whatever other show, that you have to know what happened on Raw. No, we don't have to know what happened on Raw every single time. I know they put big storylines in it, but I want to watch SmackDown for SmackDown in what JBL has confirmed that we all have said in the past. SmackDown is the A show. It's always been much better. It's always had better matches, better storylines, and just straight up competition.
I'll agree with that, especially, over the last month or so when, I've been paying more attention to what's going on. SmackDown has been far more entertaining. I have been far more interested in what's going on. And SmackDown has, for the most part, avoided the soap opera drama bullshit that has been so prevalent on Raw. But then we get this episode of SmackDown where it felt like, literally half the show was recaps from Raw.
And that you hit the nail on the head. It's soap opera. So they're just so high up on their storylines that they want to keep reminding us what happened so that we can all be intrigued, when in reality, most of us don't care.
Exactly. I mean, it's not intriguing to begin with. It's not intriguing the first time around. It's just mind-numbing when they give it to us again.
Yeah. And speaking of giving it to us again, we get another Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton match for the third time on Raw and SmackDown. Last week, Wade Barrett defeated Randy Orton in a really good match. On Raw, Randy Orton got the win over Wade Barrett, and now they have a third match on SmackDown.
This had the potential to be really, really good, because both of these guys are physically dominant. They both know how to put on a good match. I was actually looking forward to this match. But then WWE has to go with their, hey, we have to throw screw jobs into everything. And they have ADR sitting at ringside, on commentary, theoretically. And when Randy Orton is up on the turnstile doing his posing thing that he does, ADR just jumps him out of the blue because, hey, he's ADR and he's the heel and that's what he does. And I'm just sitting there screaming at my screen going, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What is this bullshit you are pulling on us? Just let the guys in the ring have a motherfucking fight for once in your goddamn lives. Leave the screw jobs out of it. Leave the heel bullshit out of it. Just let them fight. They'll put on a good match. Just leave them the fuck alone.
On the other hand, I actually liked that ADR didn't even wait until the match started. He rushes the ring, but Orton was ready for him and jumped him. And then Ricardo Rodriguez, from behind, shoves him into the ring post as the referees get them to go to the back. Here's where it got stupid. After the commercial break, the match is in progress, and Randy Orton is fighting the match like nothing happened.
Well,
and I'm begging him. This is where I'm screaming at my screen, begging for him to sell the hit that he took to the ring post.
He was staggering a little bit and holding his head a little bit, and then the match started, and it was like, okay, I'm fine. We'll just have this fight.
I know. And not to take away from the match itself, I really did enjoy it. It was hard-hitting. These two have put on good matches in the past. They've put on good matches the past week. And, again, we have a rerun of last week where Del Rio comes back out, distracts Randy Orton, and Wade Barrett picks up the win. This time it was with a schoolboy roll-up, getting the 1-2-3. And, hey, like I said last week when the same shit happened, I was surprised to see Wade Barrett pick up the win. This means now that Wade Barrett is beaten Randy Orton twice in a span of 7 days. Not many people can say that lately.
Yeah. The issue I had here was that it wasn't so much Alberto Del Rio, being down on the ramp that was distracting Randy Orton to give Wade Barrett the win. It was fucking Ricardo Rodriguez jumping up on the apron. And, Ricardo, I love you to pieces, buddy, but you don't belong in the middle of this shit. Seriously.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Ricardo for all the things that he has to go through, because sure enough, Randy Orton took off to the back. He just left Wade Barrett there in the ring. He didn't even go after him. And I do admire that because, Wade Barrett's just doing what he does, taking advantage, getting the W. But after this, Matt Striker interviews Del Rio backstage, and sure enough, Randy Orton pops up from the background, and they get into this fight that ends up in the catering room. And what the hell?
If I was one of the caterers, I'd be livid. I would be so beyond pissed off at this whole thing, because I've worked in a kitchen, and those people work their asses off to get that shit set up, and then the story has this whole big fight pretty much destroying everything. I mean, we had the coffee pot that went, we had the big kettle of marinara sauce that went, half of the cakes get taken out. I would be livid if I was part of the catering crew on this one.
And I agree with you there, because I myself have worked in the kitchen. I know what it's like. I've worked in the production area, and yeah, it would suck. I mean, obviously, that's a lot of their inventory that's being destroyed. But the fact, did we need this food fight? Did we really need to have this take up space on SmackDown? Basically, Del Rio went to pick up a coffee pot, singed his hands, so Orton takes a couple of pot holders, tosses it at him, but he ducks, and it splashes all over Ricardo Rodriguez. I felt so bad for Ricardo. Has to take a pot of coffee to the face and sell that it's hot. By the way, I don't know if... I know I heard this, but did you hear the piped-in sizzling sound every time that they touch the coffee? You could actually hear the sound effect of sizzling.
Yeah, because we all know that totally happens when you touch a pot of coffee. It sizzles.
And we all know that they're really going to throw hot coffee on someone. Yeah. His skin would be bubbling.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right, I know that, a lot of people have short attention spans, but we're not stupid, too. And then to top it off, Randy Orton takes out Del Rio, turns to Ricardo, who is just completely cowering on the floor, shaken and disturbed, and Orton dumps marinara on him. Why? He didn't do anything to you. Well, he jumped on the apron, but he didn't need all that. Didn't you feel bad enough with the coffee?
He also did, try to shove Randy Orton into the turnstile in the pre-match brawl that they were having here. But, I mean, if this is the level of writing that the WWE is going to be giving us, where they're implying that A, we're morons, and B, we all have a 13-year-old boy's sense of humor, I don't need to watch this shit.
Well, okay, fair enough. You make a good point that Ricardo did cause some of that, but I wouldn't go as far as dumping hot liquid and sauce on someone. I'd lock him in a cold freezer.
Because you are a reasonable, rational human being. You are obviously not the intended audience of the WWE in a segment like this. The intended audience here is, 7th grade boys who think that having a food fight would be like the height of coolness.
You're right. I am too level-headed for this, and Randy Orton is far, far from it. But what makes Matt Striker think that he can talk to Randy Orton for an interview during the course of his rage? That's not even smart on any level. And he deserves to get a pie to the face.
And see, this is another example of, hey, WWE Universe, you're morons, so you're totally going to accept that Matt Striker is also a moron and going to try to talk to Randy Orton in the middle of the voices in his head going haywire on him. It's just, really? This is what we're supposed to believe? Just, yeah. WWE creative, you need to have more respect for your fans.
Yeah, this whole segment could have been... That could have been left on WWE Main Event. Or even on Saturday Morning Slam, where, kids can laugh at all the food getting thrown.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I mean, if you're going to do this anywhere, do it on Saturday Morning Slam. There's no neck shots, there's no profanity, and food getting thrown around when you're an 8-year-old. Hey, that's funny.
Exactly. Moving right along. Earlier in the night, Natalya approached General Manager Booker T and his assistant Teddy Long that since Eve is away in Europe for their European tour, that maybe she can help out and she can be an assistant and maybe she can help with some of the decisions Booker T has to make. And of course, that doesn't happen because David Otunga completely shades her. Just walks right in front of her like an eclipse and offers his services to Booker T. So what does Booker say? Well, I need you in the ring against a returning superstar. And it's the Great Khali. So here we are having a food fight in the catering room. We have hot coffee being poured and splashed on people. David Otunga sips his coffee, and after learning who he has to fight, does a spit take onto Natalya. Then he apologizes and says it was an improvement, takes another sip of coffee, and Natalya slaps him, making him spit coffee all over Teddy Long. Is there a theme running here that I'm missing?
Yeah, apparently this was the food fight episode of SmackDown.
Normally they save that for Thanksgiving.
You know, this first it's like, okay, first we have Random Diva, who we haven't seen on the air since I don't even know when. I had to stop and go figure out who the hell this was. You know, random blonde chick in a trench coat, I don't have a clue who that is. Then we have the coffee spitting at the mention of another WWE superstar who hasn't been seen on TV since I don't know when. And then we have, you look better that way? What do you mean she looks better that way? She looks better wet?
I could not. I didn't get it when he said that. It's an improvement. For what? What was the bad part? Really?
It's an improvement because now she has a tan from the coffee?
Maybe because she has a wet t-shirt? I don't know.
Except it was a trench coat that looked like she had nothing on underneath it. I was waiting for her to, flash somebody.
Well, maybe he was saying it was an improvement for the white blouse under the trench coat. I don't know. David Otunga needs to just go away.
For a Harvard-educated man, he sure sounds like an idiot when he opens his mouth.
Oh, definitely. He's definitely speaking as an idiot, and he's good in the ring when he can be against somebody when he's getting his ass kicked, which was the case here against Khali. Although Otunga did get in a couple of offensive shots, he just ran into a chop to the head, and that was it. Yeah, so after the match...
This whole match was just pointless.
Yeah, it really was.
This was a time filler. Random guy we haven't seen in months versus random guy who we haven't cared about in months. And, short match and just, yeah.
Well, I can tell you why it's random is because of some of the superstars in the European tour. Some of them left early, which is why Eve wasn't there, and a couple of the other guys, probably on the mid-card, they weren't there, so we had Khali return, and he needed something to do. So, hey, let's stick him with David Otunga. Maybe, it'll be a good 2 minutes to waste. And Natalya, that's why she was there randomly. And then after the match, she thanks Khali said that she was impressed at what he did to Otunga, and then shakes his hand and says, "Wow, you have really big hands," and then walks off. Like, really? Okay.
There's being a blonde, and then there's being a blonde, and she's just giving blondes a bad name.
See, this is why the show was this bad, is because they didn't have the entire roster.
Even not having the entire roster, I mean, during the food fight, we saw 3MB back there. They could have done something with them. We saw Primo and Epico backstage. We could have done something with them. There was a lot more they could have done than 50% of the show being Raw recaps and random people that we haven't seen in months doing absolutely nothing of any sense at all. And God help me, it's got to be bad if I'm saying put 3MB on TV. You know it's bad.
Even the Usos were backstage. Hell, put 3MB versus the Usos. I would much rather enjoy that.
Exactly. I would much rather that than, a food fight and coffee spitting and, ooh, you have really big hands.
Unbelievable. And another unbelievable match that really didn't expect to see, Justin Gabriel versus R-Truth, both baby faces. And you don't see that too often. And they did shake hands before and after the match, remaining baby faces, which I do appreciate. We didn't have to see one turn heel. Justin Gabriel dominated this match. Truth barely got in any offensive moves except for the spinning corkscrew forearm and the little Jimmy facebuster.
This match for me, I mean, I don't really care about either of these guys. I don't have any interest. It was a filler match, but it was a good match. Like you said, I absolutely appreciated the handshakes. Especially at the end. I missed the one at the beginning. I think I was, washing my hair that day or something. It was a filler, but it was probably one of the high points of the show for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a random match, but it was good. It wasn't great. I still think that the singles matches between the two tag teams earlier in the show were a lot better and more exciting than the whole rest of the show was.
And see, for me, the matches earlier, they were good matches, but all the jawing on the mic in between just killed it for me.
Yeah, I mean, that was just... I thought he was just going to boast about the win, and I wasn't expecting the challenge to Mysterio, but hey, that's what we got. And we got the main event next, Sheamus and Kofi Kingston versus The Miz and The Big Show. Now, this was a good match, but it was just like the opening segment, a little boring. Yes, even with Kofi's high-flying moves, it just really didn't have that much pizzazz to it. Yeah, that's just me.
Given who these guys are, and given the matches that they have put on, even in the past 2 weeks, Sheamus versus Big Show and Miz versus Kofi, I was expecting so much more from this match. And WWE completely let me down on this one. I swear to God, it's like these guys were all given drugs before the show.
I know.
They were lackluster on the mic. They were lackluster in the ring. I was really, really disappointed by this. This match could have been so much better than what it was. It just really left me disappointed.
Now, I do like the ending where Kofi Kingston was on a roll and he had the Miz reeling. He had him in the corner. And Big Show had taunted Sheamus long enough and just enough for him to get all riled up with his Irish temper. The referee had pushed Sheamus back. Big Show knocked out Kofi. Sheamus couldn't take it anymore. He tried to get after Big Show, but he was so distracted that behind him, the ref counted the 1, 2, 3 for The Miz over Kofi, which means that Kofi and Sheamus had lost the match, but I don't even think Sheamus realized it.
No, I think Sheamus was too busy being pissed off.
He was so pissed off. He wanted Big Show to get in the ring and fight, and he was so mad. And of course, we hadn't seen it all night. Of course, we had to get the Brogue Kick to The Miz, who was celebrating just a little bit too much in the same ring with Sheamus.
At this point in the show, I was just over it. I was ready for it to be done. I'm normally a big Sheamus mark, but at this point, I just really didn't care anymore.
Yeah, it was a big yawn at the end. I will say, for the entire episode of SmackDown, the highlights for me were, of course, the singles matches between the two tag teams. Skipping the mid-matches promo, just the matches themselves, and Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara imitating the primetime players with the millions of dollars dance, that was the highlight of the entire show for me.
I think for me, it's a toss-up between seeing Ray and Sin Cara doing the millions of dollars dance and the Justin Gabriel and R-Truth match.
Now, next week, and might I add, this is probably one of the shorter episodes of SmackDown Rundown it's going to be, since nothing was that enjoyable to talk about this week. That's how bad SmackDown can be, because normally we go for about an hour, and it hasn't even reached that level yet. But next week, SmackDown will be live on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Now, technically, it won't actually be live since it's being taped in England. I don't think they're going to be up that late in England. But anyways, SmackDown will be on Tuesday next week. Now, I don't know currently what that means for the SmackDown Rundown, but, obviously stay tuned. We will have details for you over the weekend. But what we can expect for next week's SmackDown, Randy Orton versus Alberto Del Rio in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And I am actually looking forward to that. How about you, Chris?
I would look forward to it a little bit more if they hadn't had the food fight tonight, or last night. If they can manage to stay out of the catering area, I think it'll be a decent match. I don't want to see any more food fight.
Well, see, that's where it went wrong, okay? Because they had the food fight this week, it won't make sense with a Falls Count Anywhere. If they only teased it or fought somewhere else, if by next week in the Falls Count Anywhere match, if they had the match and they ended up in the catering area, that would have been a little bit more exciting.
But see, now that we've said this won't make sense, that's exactly what they're going to do, because God knows we can't expect sense out of the WWE.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing. See, when it comes to Falls Count Anywhere, I want to see them fight anywhere. I mean, Falls Count Anywhere, I don't want to see in the ring 90% of the time, and then ringside for 7% of the time, and the rest 3% on the stage. No, I want to see anywhere, like backstage, in the hallway, in the dressing room, in the locker room, in the showers, on the balcony, anywhere. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I've seen too many, Falls Count Anywhere matches where they're in the ring and 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 oh hey look they're in the ring and oh gosh they're still in the ring and oh hey pinfall on the ramp.
Yeah. This reminds me of a clip that WWE had posted on their YouTube channel, and it's way back from early 1999. Al Snow versus Bob Holly for the Hardcore Championship, and they ended up fighting in the Mississippi River. Now that is anywhere. That's what I like, that it even ended up outside the arena. That was awesome.
That would be awesome.
That was awesome to see and to relive that moment, and that's the epitome of Falls Counting Anywhere.
I think we need a playground. I think we need a seesaw battle.
That would be epic. If they ended up fighting in a playground, that would just be awesome.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's really the only match that's been scheduled for a SmackDown or Super SmackDown live next week. It will be in England, so expect a lot of backwards business going on there. Another match that's actually been scheduled for next week is actually for a WWE main event, Sheamus versus Wade Barrett. I wonder how that's going to go, because the last time Sheamus was on main event, he lost. And Wade Barrett says that he never loses in England. So I'm actually looking forward to another match between those two. I love watching those two guys wrestle, or brawl, for that matter.
And this is another case of, if they just get to fight, it'll be a really good match. But if they get all the screwjob interference, it's just going to suck. Just leave them alone, let them fight.
Yeah. So, according to Monday Night Raw, Chris, I know you're so desperately looking forward to watching Raw, watching how bad it is, just so that you can rant on it on the Raw reaction, because I'll be honest, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy listening to the reaction. Because it's so much more fun when the show is bad, because it makes the hate so much more fun. And being an angry Mark is just the epitome of what watching Raw is. But what we can expect is more bullshit from the AJ scandal, and apparently Vicky Guerrero has more evidence, so yay to that. But apparently they're going to, I guess, I don't know if it's a sit down or interview or whatever, but the questionable quote unquote referee Brad Maddox will be there, and he'll have comments, or he'll explain his side of the story. So I'm really interested to find out where they're going to go with that storyline, and with the whole Brad Maddox thing. I'm actually interested and intrigued. How about you?
That's probably the only part of Raw that I'm looking forward to at this point. Just finding out where this is going. Because right now, I don't know where the hell it's going. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And, I understand that, asking things to make sense from the WWE is kind of a futile gesture, but at the same time, I need it to make some level of sense. And right now, it's all screw job, screw job, screw job, screw job, and just making me crazy. The best part of doing the Raw reaction for me is that it's a huge release valve. Because I can get pissed off all week long by stupid shit going on, and then Monday night I can rant and scream and yell, and everybody loves it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the beauties of being on the Angry Marks podcast network, and the term Angry Mark is just the epitome of watching Monday Night Raw. It just invokes the anger out of us, which always makes for a better podcast, in my opinion. Because
Absolutely.
if we were to feed off the energy of Friday Night SmackDown this week, this wouldn't be as exciting. Because it was boring, it made us angry, and it gave us more to talk about.
Absolutely. And hey, we are, after all, angry Marks.
Exactly. So, with that being said, the Angry Marks Podcast Network keeps rolling on as we start next week with, of course, the Raw reaction with my co-host of the evening, Chris Judd, and our producer, Killer Kev. So make sure you tune in to enjoy that show, because I know I will be. Tuesday night, Super SmackDown live, 8 p.m. Eastern. As that will be going on, Sierra will host the Tuesday night AMP with her and wrestler Missy Sampson. Should be hosting an interview, and they'll be taking on-air calls for Missy as well. So make sure you check that out.
I am excited about that. Missy was in the chat room with us Thursday night for Thursday AMP when Stevie J and Ciara interviewed Marty Bell, and Missy was, participating in the chat room, asking questions, answering questions. She's just fantastic. I can't wait to hear her on the air.
Cool. I can't wait to hear what's going on with that, and hope to learn more about Missy Sampson. I am completely oblivious, so I know that Sierra will do a great job informing us and handling the interview, because Sierra is great when it comes to her Angry Marquee articles, teaching us about women's wrestling, and not the divas, not the knockouts, all of women's wrestling. And Sierra also has recently joined us in the chat room, and she says that Missy has been wrestling since 1995. So there you go. I mean, that's got to be a long, storied career with plenty of anecdotes for us to enjoy. So can't wait to check that out Tuesday. Wednesday night, Glove Up or Shut Up. Peter H. and Stevie J talk about the latest in mixed martial arts. And they'll be back again on Thursday as the aforementioned Thursday night AMP. Plenty of shows on the Angry Marks Podcast Network to listen to. Do you have anything else to add, Chris, before we close out the show?
Nope, I think we've covered it all. I appreciate you having me. It's always a pleasure to be here on the SmackDown Rundown. Yep, that's pretty much it.
All right, and thanks to you for joining me on taking the role of co-host, joining me this week. And shout out to everybody who's been listening live in the angrymarks.com/chat. And also, huge shout out to anybody else who checks us out on the download, whether it's angrymarks.com on the podcast page or on iTunes, keyword Angry Marks, even on the Stitcher app. You can find us by typing in Angry Marks. We're everywhere. There's nowhere that you can't find us, and there's no excuse to say that you missed the show. That's going to do it for the SmackDown Rundown. For Chris Judd, for our producer Killer Kev, this is Nikolai telling you we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.